So, Nick, let's kick off the conversation with you. Can the Cowboys still salvage their season and make the playoffs at this point?
Oh, well, the answer to the first question is kind of. The answer to the second question is definitely. Can they salvage their season? Yeah, I suppose. If they went from 2-7 to 9-7, if they finished the year with 7 consecutive wins, it would include a win against Baltimore here coming up after Thanksgiving, then sure, I think that would be, given the fact they lost their quarterback for the season to a horrible injury in the way the year started, I think you would say, you know what? We have real things to build on. Most notably, in order for them to do that, it would mean the defensive turnaround is complete. We've seen DeMarcus Lawrence the last month finally, for the first time since signing that contract, play up to that contract. You want to see more from Jalen Smith. You want to see what the secondary under a full year of the new defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, can really do. So that's how you would salvage the year. Now, to make the playoffs, you might only need 6 wins. You might only, hell, if they could tie today, 5-10-1 might get you there. So I don't think making the playoffs necessarily salvages their season. They're obviously not dead on arrival for the playoffs. No one in this division is. Brandon, they wouldn't be my playoff pick, and they're not my pick to win today. I think Washington wins.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I do think they could take some small, almost moral victories. If they finish the year really strong, I don't anticipate that that's going to happen, though.
Yeah, Nick, but the answer is absolutely. When you walk into any arena, any stadium, what do you see? You see banners. And on those banners, what does it read? Divisional champs. It reads Super Bowls, championships. It may even have some names hanging in the rafter. When you walk in any locker room, everybody's talking about the same thing: win the division. So if they continue to stack wins, they win the division, whether it's with 6 wins, 7 wins, it's a win. So for that reason, they absolutely can salvage their season. As a player, you don't think about, well, maybe there's a handful of teams that think about, well, if we win this way, we're going to get a bye. If we win this way, we can get first place. There's only a handful of teams. Let's look at the AFC. You have the Patriots, you have the Steelers, the Ravens, now the Kansas City Chiefs. You also have, on the NFC side, Green Bay, the Saints. Those are teams that really think about winning 13, 14 ball games. They think they're capable of doing that. Most teams want to do it, but then when reality smacked them in the face and they look up halfway through the season and they're 500, then they start leaning on, let's just win a division. So for that reason, Wilds, I absolutely think the Cowboys can salvage their season if they stack wins and hit into the playoffs as divisional champions.
All right, so Brandon, could they, if they don't make the playoffs, let's suppose the Eagles get hot, or my Giants, Joe Judge gets hot. Let's suppose they play really well and then miss the playoffs. But do you still think that's a win when they look at, what if they go 6-10 and the Giants win the division with 7 wins? Is that a good season where it's like, hey, we played well, I guess. We were 6-10. We could have won the division, but the Giants had 7 wins. It's this odd calculus.
Yeah, I mean, the way this season went down, this is an easy answer. It's a quick answer. A lot of people get fired, players get traded and cut. Now, if this wasn't Coach McCarthy's first year, we would see a lot of that. I think they'll stand pat. They won't make too many changes to the coaching staff, but definitely there's going to be players that's going to be shipped out.
All right, well, Nick, let me ask you something. Isn't this kind of like a, so what? Like, so what if the Cowboys do make the playoffs? Is anyone really afraid of this Cowboys team?
No, not with Andy Dalton at quarterback, not even if they get hot and win a bunch of games down the stretch. However, that does bring me to the team they're playing today. And I understand we're talking about the Cowboys today, but I want to say something about Washington. Because like I said, I think Washington is going to win today. I think Washington actually could scare one specific team in the postseason. If Washington wins the NFC East, they will do it on the strength of what? Their pass rush. And I am telling you right here, right now, today, If Washington wins the NFC East, and in order to do that, they need to win this afternoon against Dallas, Tampa is the odds-on favorite to be the 5 seed. They're not going to win their division, and they are probably going to finish with the best record of the non-divisional winners. If Washington were to play Tampa in Washington, first game of the playoffs, they 100% can win that game. They are the second best pass rush in football. They absolutely could beat the Tampa Bay Bucks based on the strength of their defensive line alone. So I actually think Washington, Philly for a similar reason, if they were to get it together, I don't think they will because of their pass rush. Those teams actually could strike some fear in the opposition. I do not think Dallas, even if they get hot, with Dalton at quarterback and with a mediocre at best defense, Brandon, can make anybody afraid come the postseason.
Yeah, no one's going to be scared. You see how Nick just went through all those scenarios. Oh, this seed, this team's going to play that team. Mm-hmm. Players, they listen to that in the locker room. They're watching these shows. And you know what they do? They look at, well, if we play the Cowboys, that's a win for us. So it almost has the opposite effect on teams when you creep into the playoffs. Teams think it's just they can take your lunch. So I think the Cowboys getting in is a win for them. And then other teams that probably will be matched up against them are looking at it as an easy win. So nobody will be scared, Wilds.
So you think, Nick, that Chase Young specifically would scare Tom Brady? Or do you think Washington has enough offense to get across? Like, it's Tampa Bay's defense, no slouch either. I know we're projecting way out to the playoffs now, but it is interesting.
But right, sure. Listen, I think it's the D-line as a whole. Chase Young gets the headlines, but he only has a handful of sacks this year. Kerrigan's an excellent player. Montrez Sweat, who they drafted in the first round last year, is probably going to have a double-digit sack season. I think Ron Rivera's instilled a defensive mindset on that team, and I actually think Alex Smith, if, again, we're projecting forward, gets a couple months of football under his belt, he's not going to be turning the ball over the way he had in his first couple starts. You know Terry McLaurin's a good player, a very good player. I think of all the teams in the NFC East, the one that would be most apt to upset a team in the playoffs is Washington. Giants wouldn't scare you. Philly, I feel like they're just a total mess. And the Cowboys don't have Dak, and the defense is limited. I think Washington, with the right matchup, again, you would need the right matchup, actually could scare some teams, Jenna.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.